about to knock the mic over.
That would have been devastating. G would have not been happy.
Right before to start the podcast.
You would have been fired.
Yeah.
Chris also would have not been happy.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Josh Lyon Team Podcast, brought to you by Velocity Lending. I am Dakota Burke, and with me is Mr. Josh Lyon.
What's up, team?
Today, we wanted to, I think we've done this a couple of times before, but I just think it's one of those things that we have to stress to people when it comes to buying a house, that it is a process.
Yeah.
You can't just go pick out a house, say I want it, and then just get a mortgage.
Right. And I mean, we touch on, there's only so many things that we can talk about when it comes to mortgages, right?
Yeah.
Interest rates, XYZ, how the process, whatever it may be. There's only so much. It doesn't change daily. Mm-hmm. There is a lot that goes into it, but it's good just to, rehash it. Plus, we have different backgrounds, so it looks better in certain backgrounds.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely does. 100%.
Well, let's kind of just do like a step-by-step, like how the process kind of works. So first thing when somebody decides, or first thing that happens, you decide you want to buy a house, right?
Excellent decision. Probably the best decision you could ever make.
Right. Step two. What's step two?
So, with us, it's just giving us a call, doing the application. So there's a couple ways you do the application. You can, over the phone. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
The reason it's my favorite is because there's information we have to ask. You do the online application, you go through it, and then a lot of times we have to call and ask additional information because we don't get it all through the online application. So I know a lot of people don't want to talk on the phone now in 2023, but it's good just to go ahead, and I guess this might be in 2024. So either way,
this year, 2024.
But take 10, 15 minutes. You talk to myself, Dakota, we go through, we get the information that we need to get the process started, get your credit pulled, and then we go ahead and send out through our secured portal the documentation that we're going to need. Documentation can vary based upon your job history, how you're getting paid, where your funds are at, things along those lines, which we do our best to customize it for the folks and exactly what we're going to need to get from them, and then have them send in the documentation. Mm-hmm. Once we get the documentation,
we review it is really what it is. Ultimately you can tell us whatever you want on the application for the most part. And when you send in those documents for us, it's going to be verifying everything that you told us over the phone. So, for a very good example I had the other day, a lady said, I make $20.30 an hour. Okay, great. That's what I put on the application. Get her pay stubs back. Oh, she actually makes $20.29 an hour. Not like it makes a difference at all. But if it did, if there was like a debt to income sort of thing where it's like, that extra penny does matter, you catch those little things right there.
I think the best example is self-employed folks.
Yeah, 100%.
Because we have to go off net, not gross. You could gross $17 million, but if you net $1,100, and we've seen not that bad of discrepancies. We've seen massive discrepancies. Then we have to go off the net. So yes, you can make a ton of money, but if you're self-employed and you're not showing it on paper, the government's going to get their money, and that's one of the things they do is you have to pay taxes in order to buy a house. Mm-hmm. So unless you're paying for it cash. So that I think is kind of the biggest one where you have these misnomers, or one of the things that we run across a lot of times is when you don't know your exact dates or even rough idea of when you quit a job and when you haven't or when you started and things like that, because that can literally kill a deal. We had a deal. It was this summer where we had to wait an extra week because the borrower had given us a little bit wrong incorrect information. Then we got the verification of employment, got that teed up, and we're like, so we have to just wait a week to close because we had to have them at that job for 6 months.
Yeah.
So those things that matter. And again, I think doing it over the phone, you get better information.
Yeah, for sure. And even if you're doing it over the phone, you give us a rough idea. In our heads, we're going to trigger, we have to go get verifications of employment right away.
It's funny when we do this, and when Omar was with us, he's like, how do you guys know this? I'm like, well, we've been doing this long enough. We're going to know if somebody's going to qualify in most cases while we're doing the application. Yeah. Because I've always said that to be a good loan officer, you don't have to know everything. You just have to know how to catch red flags. Yeah. Like, this is going to be a red flag. I'm going to have to do a little bit more research on this. And then Yeah. So once we get all that, get everything reviewed, we do it a little bit differently than some lenders, but we're going to do a 45-minute to an hour meeting with all of our pre-approved clients.
Yeah. And that you get that pre-approval basically once you send in those documents to us, once we have all those verifications of employment back. If you let us do the hard credit pull and everything is looking good, then we'll go ahead and issue a pre-approval letter. A lot of the time, though, folks are just wanting to do a soft pull just to get a good idea. Mm-hmm. So we are not sending sending out pre-approvals when we just do that soft pull most of the time.
Correct. Yeah. So hard pull, we run everything. But then once we do that, we do that meeting. It's like I said, typically 45 minutes to an hour long. Since COVID, we basically been doing them all Zoom.
Yeah.
I enjoy meeting people in person, but I mean, unfortunately, that's just kind of the way of the world. So we send you a link. We go through it. I look at income, credit, assets. I go over the whole loan scenario. I actually pull up interest rates, show you how we calculate our interest rates, show you what's the best loan program for you if you have different options, go over closing costs, because we want to make sure we're educating our clients and not just saying, hey, here's a pre-approval, good luck. I talk about this all the time. I'm very big about building wealth and having people, take that next step. Let's not just look at, hey, we're going to buy a house today. Cool, great, awesome. Why don't we say, hey, let's look at buying a house today and maybe we'll get a little bit lesser house than you wanted. But guess what? Next year, you can go ahead and buy another property and then you have a rental.
Yeah.
So I want to educate people if that's something that they want to do to help them grow and help them build wealth and, move up that social ladder. I want to go over that with folks.
Yeah.
So we go over that throughout the meeting. After the meeting, I reach out to your agent. So I would say honestly, 98% of the time when we talk to folks, they already have a realtor.
Yeah.
So thank you for all of our amazing realtors out there that we work with that trust us with your paycheck and your clients. I really do appreciate that. And so I call the agent, shoot out an email, just what we discussed in the meeting, and then you go and you find a property.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's pretty much the whole pre-approval process. So, if you're a buyer and you're looking to purchase a home, or if you're looking at buying a second home and turning your very first property that you bought into a rental, or maybe this is your 10th property, and it doesn't matter. Give us a shout. We'd love to talk to you, talk about what your financial goals are, and get you into a home sooner rather than later.
And then let's also just hop in and discuss a little bit with the process after you go under contract. Because I don't think that's something we've really talked about.
Sure. So once you're under contract on a home, most of the time I'm diving in and I am getting the disclosure paperwork teed up for you. And what the disclosure paperwork is it's has all the numbers. It has your loan estimate on there. It also have a breakdown of what your closing costs are going to be, how much your total cash to close is going to be, and then the rest of it is pretty much the legal mumbo jumbo that you have to sign when you get a house.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing that I've always stressed since I started my own company in 2019, and then obviously Dakota's been there the whole time, so I say our company, but is speed. So when we get a contract, I keep Dakota and Chandler kind of on point. My biggest thing is I want to have it disclosed in less than 24 hours and in underwriting in 48. Part of that's up to our clients, up to you guys to make sure you get those disclosures signed. If we have to get updated docs, things like that, you get that to us as quick as possible. But our average clear to close is less than 2 weeks from when we get a contract, when we have our clear to close.
Yeah.
So part of that is, hey, we get a contract. Dakota has less than 20, typically has them done in an hour and a half. Gets that disclosed, get that sent out. Borrowers get everything signed. Then Chandler goes through and does that processing part and get it submitted to underwriting. Once it goes to underwriting, that's when we reach out to our agents as well and say, hey, please let us know when you want us to order that appraisal. Depending upon the process and their turn times, we might get it ordered right away. We might have them wait a little bit, just depending upon the property, the inspection, and all of that.
Yeah.
So that's something that we just want to make sure, we're communicating with everybody. Then once the file specifically goes through underwriting, it comes back through us what's called a conditional approval. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. So the underwriters, after it's been submitted to them, they really go through your loan with a fine-tooth comb and make sure that Josh and myself have done our job correctly. Looked at your pay stubs, looked at the W-2s, bank statements, all of that good stuff. And then that conditional approval is them. They went through the entire file and said, hey, this all looks great, but we would like X, Y, and Z things. Then it is up to you as the borrower to get those documents over to us so that we can submit them back to the underwriter. And then at that point, hopefully, we're just waiting for the appraisal to come back.
Yeah, and something I want to stress, though, for clients is we don't ask for things unless we have to get them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have to show bank statements. And I joke about this. I think we made some videos, if it says 9 pages on a bank statement, even if it says left blank, you still have to send that 9th page in.
A lot of the time it literally says on the very last page, left intentionally blank.
Yep.
Still need it.
Yeah. So we're not asking for stuff just to ask for stuff. We're asking for stuff because the underwriter has to. We fought underwriters on things. Sometimes we win, sometimes we lose. But if we're asking for it, get it to us. And then obviously get it to us as quickly as you possibly can so you can get that back in underwriting. Because some things that can happen, for example, is if we have to get an updated bank statement, okay, we submit that to underwriting. and then there's something that we might have missed, or we're reviewing it and say, hey, there's a $30,000 deposit in here. What's that from? Then we have to source it. So it can take time. We do our best to get them, 1 or 2 touches to our underwriter. Yeah. But sometimes it can take a little bit more. Things can pop up. So the speed and when we ask for stuff is very vital for our clients to get that back to us as quick as possible. So we go through this process, hopefully 1 time, maybe 2 times, get that all done and cleared by our underwriter. Then we get our clear to close. Okay. Once we receive our clear to close, then we send it over to title. We balance with title. We get our final numbers, and then I'm giving the borrower a call, just going over, cash to close, monthly payments, everything like that. Make sure they're understanding, they're prepared to go to closing, and then we go to the closing table.
Yeah. Like we said, it's a process.
Yeah. I mean, we do run into times where people, like I said, people do get frustrated because we have to ask for stuff. But I mean, at the end of the day, you're getting hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah, they're not going to give it to you for free.
Correct. So we do have to clarify, you can pay it back. You have the funds to close, all of that good stuff. And we talk about this all the time. Some borrowers, pre-approvals take a little bit longer. Depending upon your scenario, we may have to ask for stuff. Like it all depends. If you're getting Social Security and we're doing that, we can just get away with bank statements. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it.
Everybody's different. No one loan is the same. I will say that. And that's why I think we like the industry.
Yeah. Keeps us on our toes.
For sure. Absolutely. Well, right on, everybody. Well, thank you so much for listening to our podcast again. If you are somebody you know is looking to purchase a home, please reach out to us at 970-460-667 or where, Josh?
Also, refis are going to come back. You can also find us at www.nocolending.com.
Absolutely. Have a great evening
or
day whenever you're watching us.
Touché.